Bismillah. Assalamu alaikum, bro.
Wa alaikum salam wa
Don't
rahmatullahi wa
worry,
barakatuh.
I've just started it, but
Oh,
don't worry.
okay, what were you saying? Am I on camera? We
Yeah, you're
cracking
on
on,
camera.
yeah?
Yeah, it's started.
Bismillah, let's
If
go.
you're ready, bro.
Akhi, let's go, inshallah
You ready?
ta'ala.
Yeah.
No problem, man, no problem.
Okay, alhamdulillah, bro.
Alhamdulillah.
So,
Beautiful, Akhi, again. Allahumma barik, bro. Beautiful home, subhanAllah. May Allah
Jazakallah
bless you,
khair.
man.
Ameen, ameen.
Just so the camera knows, his brother, he got married, and I didn't know about it, subhanAllah. So I have to expose you now. As soon as everyone's exposing everyone.
I think my wife will be happy to hear that you exposed that I'm married.
Oh, subhanAllah. May she not want to know that. She
No,
want to
no,
keep you on the DM?
no, she wants everyone to know.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay, but
yeah.
you're quite private.
I'm quite private.
Yeah.
I like to keep things that's like within the home and stuff.
Actually, that's the
Yeah.
best way. I'm the same. I'm not sure if you've noticed, but I consider myself to be quite private as well.
Yeah.
I don't think it's good for anyone and everyone to be able to know everything about your life.
Absolutely.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I tend to keep just things that's to do within the home, but just for reasons like evil eye and
Yeah.
Hasad and many other things that you've experienced yourself.
Yeah, no doubt, Akhi.
Yeah.
I don't know. You see, Hasad, yeah.
Hmm.
I don't know if that's, you know, Sheikh Mohammed Tim Humble, he mentions about posting online and social media and things to do with Hasad, evil eye, sihr, etc. And he says it's really, obviously we know that none of these afflictions take place except through Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's permission. Whenever somebody aims to do you harm, particularly sihr, it's like it has to pass through Allah's court in order for it to get like allowed or refused, approved or refused. And he would only allow it to take place from a wisdom, if there was a wisdom for it. So Sheikh Mohammed Tim Humble was mentioning about posting online is that check your intention, because your intention will be kind of very much relevant to if you get afflicted or not with any type of affliction. So if you don't have a genuine intention and real necessary need to post, then don't do it. Do you know what I'm saying?
That's a very good point. Yeah.
And I find myself posting less because I'll check my intention quite a lot before I post. Do you know what I'm saying? And more times I find it's not necessary, so I don't.
That's true. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like I don't need to do this.
Yeah.
You know, so it's really, really important.
That's subhanallah. I try to post things that people benefit from. Things that people can there's like some substance behind it. From time to time I might post something that I like, or maybe a decent picture of like some sort of thing that I like, but in general there should be some sort of substance where people come in, they can take something out of it and go, instead of just see a nice pretty picture of yourself or something like that.
Yeah, no doubt. And with Hasad as well, like you mentioned, Hasad is normally a punishment from Allah. So even though it's something carried out by a particular person, you know, Hasad is an intentional evil eye, isn't it?
Yeah,
so you've got evil eye which can be done by mistake, accident. You can put it on yourself. But Hasad on the other hand is an intentional evil eye, where somebody has that sickness of Hasad which destroys their life, really destroys their happiness. But the one who gives it to another, has Hasad for another person, they see something in them that they like, they want, and they want it to be taken away from you.
Yeah.
And Allah would allow that to take place normally as a punishment. Hasad is.
Yeah, subhanallah, it's Hasad is one of those things that people don't realize how true it is. Like the Prophet said that Hasad is haqq, like it's true, like it's evident in our lives, and that a lot of people can even die and they can pass away from the effects of Hasad. We know the story of the companion that when he was bathing and one of the other companions saw his body, and his body was very smooth and he looked nice, so the companion said, wow, I've never seen a body like that. And he didn't say mashallah, tabarakallah, or Allahumma barik or anything, and the companion collapsed. And when the Prophet ﷺ was told of what had happened, he said, why would you kill your brother? He said, you should always put the blessings of Allah on whatever that you have, anything that you want protected, whether it's your house, your wealth. Some of the scholars, subhanAllah, even when it comes to like your car, they say like you can recite over it for protection. So the Prophet ﷺ told the other companion to go and make wudu and use that wudu water upon this throw the water on the companion that had fainted, and then alhamdulillah he was able to wake up.
Subhanallah. Mad.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people now, because bro, I find it hard to come across people who aren't afflicted nowadays. Honestly, bro, seriously. Like I find it's that common to me that I find it hard to come across people that are not afflicted. Do you know what I mean? And I think a lot of people have come to the realization that these things really are real. You know, I think a lot of people, I find it hard to feel that they can't know. Like with my clients, with my counseling, so many of them deal with issues related to this. And when I speak to them about it, it's not shocking to them. They know it's real, but maybe it's just not something that they talk about a lot. In fact, actually, I've heard and what I've learned that in some cultures, particularly Asian cultures, it's kind of a humiliation or like a shame or an embarrassment or something to the person who's suffering from it.
Yeah.
Obviously, I know you're Afghan, so I know you're not. It's like it's a bit different, but is that right? Like, is it kind of that if you have an affliction, you have to sort of like hide it because you can be shamed and things of that nature? Have you heard anything like that before?
Not necessarily, but I can imagine it being happening in places like that.
Particularly if it's like a woman trying to get married, like kind of thing. Because some sisters that I've had sessions with, when I've spoken to them, you know, they've had experiences where they've been afflicted, and then the husband that they was married to kind of took advantage, like as a result of it, you know, and was exposing it and things of that nature. But Allah Alam, perhaps it's not as like that.
Well, in Afghanistan, there's a lot of stuff like black magic and all of these stuff like is very prevalent. People go to the local imam for taweez and like loads of different sort of stuff, and they put in their water and they drink from it, or they have the little piece of paper with random stuff written on it, and they'll have it in a little necklace. thing. Or like they put it under their pillow. There's loads of stuff, subhanAllah, that I've come across. So I wouldn't be surprised if a huge population of Afghanistan is like afflicted with jinns.
It's becoming more and more common though.
Yeah.
It's becoming more and more common. The amount of people I know that are going through stuff, you would never think it, but they are.
How do you think people are getting afflicted from it? Like, would you think people do?
That's a good question. Okay. Well, I'll answer it like this, yeah. First of all, there's a rise in social media and a lack of privacy opens doors for people to see things, more and more things about your life, yeah? So that has to be a factor.
Yeah.
Has to be a factor. Back in the day, if somebody had a nice pair of trainers, the whole world didn't know about it. But nowadays, if you're somebody, you're known a little bit to an extent. If you've got something nice, you're putting it on social media, everybody knows. Do you know what I'm saying? So people are opening up their private lives and obviously people always show their best things, valuable things they want to show off. So one, they don't have good intention for why they're posting. Two, they are posting and everybody can see it. Yeah. So that has to be a factor. And obviously jealousy's always existed.
Yeah.
But with that, jealousy increases in people. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, I was saying about Hasad is normally a punishment. Yeah. It's like a punishment. Yeah. Sihr is a trial. When I was reciting doing ruqyah on myself, with the intention for Allah to remove the hasad, yeah. And this is, alhamdulillah, you know what? It's good. I like the way you do your podcast actually, because it's much more kind of deen.
Yeah.
And people you said when I asked you what inspired you to do this, you sort of want people to come and be able to take some benefit and, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Discuss different things in different ways. Basically, when you're afflicted with a spiritual affliction, the way to do ruqyah on yourself and how I advise my clients to do it is based on how I learned, is you close your eyes, you make the intention for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala you make your intention, oh Allah, I'm reciting the Quran in order for you to remove the main jinn, sihr, hasad, evil eye, any afflictions from me. And oh Allah, I intend for you to make my blowing fire or nur. Like I use Allah's nur, which is more powerful than fire. So you close your eyes, you recite the Quran, and you visualize yourself in front of you. Have you heard about it? Have you heard of this style of
No, so you like
ruqyah?
see yourself in like a
Yeah, so you
third
close
person.
you close your eyes, yeah, because when you close your eyes and you're reciting, you enter the like spiritual world basically, and when I say you enter the spiritual world, what it means is Allah shows you things whilst your eyes are closed. Do you understand? This is how people find sihr. This is how people find where it is and see who did it and things of that nature. So either you'll find it whilst you're reciting or in a dream, yeah? So you close your eyes, you visualize yourself in front of you, and you recite, for example, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. You visualize, I'm visualizing myself in front of me and I'm blowing fire. So in my head, I've made the intention for Allah to make the blowing fire, and I'm blowing fire on my head. Do you understand? My brain to destroy anything that's there, because jinn, sihr, like, they can be in different parts of the body. Normally where you're feeling aches, pains, normally that's where you emphasize and you focus on. So I know of one person in particular who gets pain in between their shoulders and their back. They should be focusing on blowing a lot in that place. Some people may feel something in their foot or in their leg or in their head, wherever. So you recite and you blow on all different parts of your body, and then eventually you'll start to see, like, after, like, the Sheikh Abu Ubaidi says that the recitation that empowers, develops, strengthens you is a recitation that exhausts you. Now you're a gym man, so good example you can understand, yeah. When you, and I go to the gym from time to time, but you're on a different level, yeah. So when you go to the gym and you leave without feeling exhausted and tired, do you feel like you got something from it?
No.
I've done that, yeah. I've gone to the gym and had a dead session.
Yeah.
I've come in, I've done do you know what I mean? I've played the role, like, do you know what I mean? Done a couple lifts or whatever, but you're just not there. And you walk out not feeling really anything at all. It's the same with the Quran. You can recite the Quran for a period of time and just not feel anything, not feel any fatigue, not feel any tiredness, nothing, yeah, and stop. The recitation that develops you and empowers you is a recitation where you feel exhausted.
Wow.
You know, and trust me, if you're afflicted, you'll know what I'm talking about. You'll fall asleep. You'll just wake up. You know, so yeah, so that is how you do it. That is from what I've experienced one of the best ways of doing ruqyah. Obviously, there are other added things: black seed oil, reciting on black seed oil, reciting on water, and kind of making ghusl with the water every day and drinking the black seed oil, atar, etc. But
So I think one of the good points that you made was the intention, because some people, when they recite the Quran like every day, so they think that they're protected. But one of the things that they don't do is they don't recite with the intention that they're seeking protection or they're seeking cure from any sort of black magic and so on. So what I think is very, very good that you mentioned the intention.
Yeah, you have to. You have to make the intentions are very, very important.
Yeah.
It's like even with the salah. Look at the salah, yeah. You have to make you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
But you have to make the intention.
Exactly.
I intend to pray dhuhr. Or you don't verbally say it, but you intend to pray dhuhr 4 rakats facing the Kaaba. And then you pray. But yeah, it's not easy, man, subhanAllah. It's not easy. When I was reciting, and as I was saying on the subject of, you said, like, why do you think more and more people are afflicted? They're afflicted for numerous reasons. I said, exposing private parts of their life, not making dua not making their du'as, not doing their adhkar, not reciting Quran, entering the bathroom without making the necessary dua. But then Hasad, I was saying as well, because you mentioned it about how it's a punishment. When I was told that Hasad is normally given to someone who lacks gratitude. They've humiliated someone, kind of embarrassed someone, things of that nature, yeah. And when I was reciting on myself, I saw an old work colleague of mine, one Arab Christian. It was an Arab Christian, yeah, and he didn't like me particularly very much. I was a manager in the office, I used to be like a visa consultant, so I used to help people from the UK migrate to Australia, and I was a manager of that team, of a team of the Australian side, yeah, because we did Canada visas as well in UK.
Sure.
And yeah, me and this guy had issues with each other, and one day I kind of buoyed him off, and the kind of office kind of like laughed at him. And when I was reciting and then I saw him, his face came up in my head, basically. I could see him, his face came up. I was thinking, subhanAllah, maybe I got it because of how I kind of buoyed him off in front of the office. I mean, even though we both had passive with each other, you know, me as a Muslim, maybe I should know better than to be in that manner. And perhaps maybe I was arrogant or haughty. I was young at the time.
Yeah.
You know, so alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah, man.
Just be careful how you deal with people.
Yeah.
Allah is very just, and He will allow someone, even if they're non-Muslim, to afflict you if you wrong them. But you have to realize this very, very important thing is that even if you are afflicted, it's a blessing for you.
Yeah.
Because you have to recite the Quran, you have to grow closer to Allah for it to go. And that's one of the things that people have to understand if they've been afflicted with any kind of spiritual afflictions, is that it is an opportunity for you to gain blessings and barakah.
It's true, and it's like you said, it's a blessing. And the fact that Allah has afflicted you with this in this life instead of the next life. Imagine you wronged someone or you transgressed against someone, and instead of Allah giving you the punishment in this world, you're getting the punishment in the next world. It's going to be way more severe and multiplied in the next life than in this life, subhanAllah.
Yeah.
So it's a blessing to have any sort of affliction, and that shows that we should think well of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as well.
That's the key.
Yeah.
That's the key. Thinking well of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, having husnul dhan. I ask my clients, I say to them, in the midst of a trial, because they ask me questions sometimes, like one of them asked me a question one time, what's the best way for me to get the most out of this trial? So I said, what do you think you need to have, like mentally? Obviously, many things, they don't require physical efforts. Deen is spiritual. The physical side of things are good for you, but everything's more mental, yeah? What mental strength or like ability do you need to have in your arsenal to make the most out of a trial, to get through a trial? Sabr? Okay, no. Iman? No. Tawakkul? No. All of these things are important. All of these things are important, but husnul dhan of Allah, having a good thought of Allah during the midst of a trial, is how you get the best out of it. You need to be able to be optimistic and positive and not be upset with Allah or displeased with His qadr. Have a good thought, and that's definitely key.
Yeah, that's fine. Some of the Salaf used to say stuff like, when you're afflicted or when you're harmed by a person, don't think that this person has harmed me and start thinking evil of them and start having hatred inside of you for them, but rather think that Allah, the one who's transgressed you, the one who's allowed this person to oppress you is not an oppressor, meaning Allah. And if you're thinking well of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, no matter what a person does to you, however they harm you, you're never going to think bad of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you're not going to cut off ties thinking that this person is evil, this person is like that, because you're thinking this is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's trialing me some sort of way. I'm going to think well of Allah, and I'm going to push through and have patience and just have trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Well, that's really interesting, because I would ask Sheikh Abu Ubaid, what do you recommend people to do when they find out who it was that had afflicted, that had done this evil? Because it is one of the greatest oppressions one person can do to another, sihr in particular, yeah? And he said it's complicated. It's complicated because very often these are people close to you. Very often these are family members.
Yeah.
So, I just said to him, but I'm not, for me, I'm cutting ties. Do you understand what I'm saying? And he didn't respond. One, because he's a busy person anyway, but we don't go back and forth into it. I told you I had a dream where I crashed these Ferrari last night. Yes, I had a dream. I took Sheikh Abu Ubaid gunmetal grey Ferrari, and I was just destroyed it. Subhanallah, alhamdulillah. I woke up very happy that it was a dream only.
Subhanallah.
But yeah, it's very complicated,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and what you said, that mindset that the Salaf gave of looking at the oppression and allowing it to take place from one who isn't an oppressor.
Yeah.
Perhaps yes, that does open up an avenue for the people to have rahmah towards that individual, and maybe it's a little bit like the one who kills an individual and makes them a martyr.
Yeah.
You know, they would love
Yeah,
that person in the akhirah if they accept Islam, because you killed me, you made me, you granted me this honor.
Yeah.
That Afghan uncle, you know, in New Zealand, who was shot first when he when that kalb, that dog, entered the masjid. If that person were to accept Islam, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I don't know what I even want to say if I would want that to happen. Allah does amazing things, yeah.
That's true, subhanallah.
Then He would love him,
Yeah.
even though He had harmed him.
Imagine how much Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala must have loved those individuals, that He's taken them away from a temporary world where there's you have to be patient, you have to deal with people, you have to work hard, you get old, you get sick. There's so many things in this world. Obviously we have blessings, alhamdulillah, as well.
Alhamdulillah,
There's
we
so
do.
many trials
blessings
in this dunya, but Allah took them away from this dunya in a place that is most beloved to Him, which is the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and He took them to a place where they're going to be in eternal bliss. They're probably flying in green birds right now, subhanAllah.
Yeah.
They're shuhada.
And chandeliers underneath the arsh of Allah,
Yeah,
the throne of Allah, underneath, and the green birds fly around, and that's where they are. It's
May Allah
incredible.
make us among them.
Allahumma ameen, Allahumma ameen. It's a great way to go.
Yeah,
It's a great way to go, subhanallah. The dunya is a crazy place because I rarely, when you look at the life of the Sahaba, you'll rarely find great, honorable, lofty individuals having what some people would describe, or the non-Muslims in particular would describe as a good death,
Yeah.
a peaceful death, on their deathbed surrounded by their family. It's quite rare.
Yeah.
It's quite rare. Umar, we know how he died. You know, Uthman,
Yeah.
radiallahu an, we know how he died. My favorite companion, Abdullah ibn Zubayr,
Inshallah.
the knife people know how he died, where he died in a gruesome way.
Yeah.
The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam's grandchildren. How did Abu Bakr die again?
Abu Bakr.
I don't know why I keep forgetting how Abu Bakr radiallahu anh died.
Now that you've put me on the spot, I've forgotten as well. I think he died on his deathbed, though.
Did he die on his deathbed,
I
Abu
think
Bakr?
he did, yeah. I think he
was one of the ones that had a more peaceful
Yeah.
death, yeah?
I know he died at the age of 63.
Same as the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Same with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
And
he
Abu
died
Bakr as
on
well,
a,
and Umar as well, I think.
Monday as well, just as the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam did.
Abu Bakr, you know.
Bro, when you look into the life of Abu Bakr, you realize why he was the best of companions, subhanallah.
Subhanallah.
But the compilation of the Quran was done at his time. So imagine every single time we were opening up the Mus'haf and we're reading it. Imagine there's like 2 billion Muslims around the world.
Yeah.
If a single letter that they read from that is on the scale of Abu Bakr. And subhanAllah, you know, 6 of the companions that were from the 10 that were promised Jannah,
bro.
6 of the companions that were promised Jannah were through him.
Yeah.
Subhanallah.
Yeah, mad. It's
Amazing.
incredible. And by the way, yeah, it was illness, yeah.
It was illness.
Yeah, it was illness, yeah, I had to check. But yeah, so you'll look at, so I started preying it when I was thinking about the New Zealand attack, yeah? May Allah have mercy on them, I mean. And I was thinking the dunya is a crazy place because what appears as evil so often is not. And I was thinking how fitting that on a Friday when we're supposed to read Surah Al-Kahf, which mentions the story of Musa and Khidr, where you see Allah's wisdom in that things that appear to be evil very often, that they cannot be evil. Do you understand? Allah has wisdom in everything that He does.
Seemingly
you get the most Musa and Khidr type situation with New Zealand, because that is evil, and that was evil, no doubt, and it appears as nothing but evil. But there's look at what happened as a result. These individuals get the greatest honor. The adhan is called in Trafalgar Square. The adhan is called in Australia. The adhan is called in New Zealand. These people accept Islam. Islamophobia dies a little bit.
It's true, subhanAllah.
All because of that. If he didn't use one of the things that's a bit sad when you observe the minds of us people, humans, and all of mankind, but the non-Muslims and the Muslims, if he didn't use a GoPro, our hearts would not have been affected by it like that at all. At all.
That's true,
The pious and very soft-hearted individuals, yes,
Yeah.
because they're on a kind of different level. But the normal person living their life, it would, because wallahi akhi, when my boy called me in the morning and said, akhi, is your family okay? Because obviously my wife is in Australia, from Australia. And I was like, yeah, everything's good. What happened? Because he made me worry, like, yo, what's going on? And then he told me what had happened. I went on BBC News and I read 40, at the time, maybe 40 something dead in mosque shooting. Akhi, I was like, psh, it's the same old. I'm so used to hearing about deaths, especially of Muslims, and we've been dehumanized so much via the media that even I was like, you know, it's just this everyday life. But the GoPro, watching it, is a different story.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And if it wasn't for him doing that, all of this wouldn't have took place. Do you know what I mean? So, alhamdulillah, man, wallahi, so much things that look like they're evil. That I was waiting. I was saying, I wonder what the wisdom, you know, the goodness in this would be. And, you know, we saw it in front of our very eyes.
SubhanAllah. It's two things. People just take these kind of events as it happens. People die, it's evil, khalas, they leave it there. But they very rarely look at what the wisdom is behind it. What's the wisdom of Allah? Even within ourselves, someone was telling me that whenever you're going through trials, look at what the wisdom behind it is. Allah's trying to teach you something. What is it? You can either be heedless and just say, you know what, I'm in grief, I'm in a trial, I'm being tested, Allah doesn't love me. Or you can look at Allah loves me, He's trialing me for a purpose. Let me learn from that. And what's the wisdom behind it?
No doubt. And you can't, and that in itself is one of the greatest blessings. But you can't do that without the right mindset.
Yeah.
And there's so many people go under as a result of trials. And it's crazy. Like, that trial was the thing. The trials are the things that separates the believers from the disbelievers. So I guess it's natural. It happens, innit? That's like what they're designed for, isn't it? Some people sink, some people swim. But it amazes me how many people sink due to trials.
That's true, subhanAllah.
You know, like, this is your chance now. This is the time. You know, like, you get that. Say, for example, you're a football player, yeah? And you've been performing. And then you hear a scouts coming to come and watch you. That's the time to turn up.
That's true.
Do you understand? That is the time to turn up. That's what a trial is.
Yeah.
A scout's coming now to watch you, particularly. Allah's gave this to you and he's watching you. Like, he always watches you, but this is intensified. You've got a trial now.
Yeah.
And that's the time to perform. There's no better time to do it. But what do people do? They go to music.
Yeah.
They take their jilbab off or their hijab off. They go to alcohol. They go to strangers for sex to get away from their trials. And you just flopped. Like, you flopped. The things you would have got. Do you know what I mean? The things you would have got had you been patient, had you been optimistic. And now you not only lose the great treasures you were about to obtain, but now you're also sinning and ruining your akhirah. You know? So.
It's sad, subhanAllah. One sheikh was mentioning how that when people are tested and they go to these things like alcohol and drugs and also do all sorts of things, they say, oh, it's because I was tested and it was like this and Allah did this to me. He goes, no, the reality is that this is how you were. Like, this was in your heart all along, but you've just got a reason to act out what you've got. So it's trials bring out who you really are. It doesn't make you into who you are. It's actually showing who you are already. So people have like a cover on deep. Them, and then when the trial comes, then they let loose. They're like, okay, now I have a reason to sort of say.
Bro, I'm always learning something from you. I remember when we used to do our little Instagram lives for like short periods. I remember I always used to learn things from you, subhanAllah, man. I remember the thoughts I used to get were, I know you attend classes, innit? I know you have people that you learn from. And a lot of what I learn, I don't know how I learn it, really. I don't know how. I learn it from different places and wherever. I know that might be a worry to certain people who are quite strong in certain manhaj, and you should know where you learn your deen from, stuff like that. But I don't think I say anything incorrect. But I can't tell you exactly, I got it from this person. Of course, I learn a lot from Sheikh Abu Bakr in particular subjects and others. But a lot of it's my own like thinking as well and rationale. And of course, we don't use that stuff to make rulings
Yeah.
and to give judgments. Yeah, we don't do that. But it's good to be It's good to be a thinker. You're not questioning what we got to do now. So it's not like we're using my rationale to derive rulings, to give fatwa, or anything like that, because I don't want it to be perceived in that way, but to be a thinker, to be consciously thinking, alhamdulillah, and coming up with stuff. But I realized that when I listen and speak to you sometimes, I realized the barakah in sitting in front of someone of knowledge and learning, because you get something different.
I wouldn't say I'm
Alhamdulillah.
personal knowledge, but alhamdulillah, I feel the same with you, bro. Every time we
No,
have
not
a
you, not you.
conversation.
No,
Okay.
I'm not saying your
Okay,
personal
alhamdulillah,
knowledge.
you're not
Yeah, I
referring
know
to
you.
me.
Yeah, I know you wouldn't feel a way about that. I know you don't want to have things ascribed to you that you're not. I'm not saying you, but you sitting
Oh, I
with
know what you
people of
mean, yeah,
knowledge,
yeah.
and you learn from them, and alhamdulillah, I learn these little things from you as well. Alhamdulillah, which is
That's one of the
really
beautiful
cool.
things, man, with myself and you and like the brothers that we have around, is that we all sort of want to get closer to Allah, and we all always learning, trying to learn stuff and trying to get closer to Allah. So when we get together, that rubs off on each other, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm learning something from you learn something from me, and that's the importance as well of having a good companionship around.
No doubt.
Um,
Akhi, the amount of times I thought to myself I should go to Medina, man.
yeah,
Honestly, bro, if I dedicated my life to studying the deen, wallahi, I feel like, not in an arrogant way like that, but I really feel like I could, do you know what I mean? I could do something.
absolutely.
But I don't know, what can I say, man? Just I don't know what it is. I went to the Jami, you know.
Oh, you seen it? Yeah?
I went and in like Yani.
You enrolled? Or
Obviously
like applied?
Applied, yeah.
Mashallah.
I applied. I had to recite Quran, answer some Aqidah questions.
Mashallah.
I don't know. Like, I did it when I was on Umrah. I was with Sheikh Jamal and one of my companions, Abdullah. But it just wasn't in my heart. You know what I'm saying? It just wasn't in my heart. And I've seen the brothers from Bukhari TV out there, and they've been there for a while. I'm wondering if they're studying there. You know them,
Sure.
you know what you know them, right?
I know who you're referring to.
Beautiful
yeah.
brothers, mashallah.
mashallah,
Beautiful
tabarakallah.
brothers, man, subhanallah. But they've been there for a minute because they've been doing a lot of videos, a lot of dawah videos, reminders there. And I'm wondering to myself, I wonder if they're in the Jamia. You know what's
Maybe they go from time to time to study with certain
Maybe they
shuyukh
do.
or mashayikh.
I hope they're studying there.
Yeah.
Because those brothers are special brothers, mashallah. And I've been in the deen, like it's interesting because, you know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will always bring people into the ummah to carry on will carry the torch of dawah, let's say, for example, spreading knowledge. And I have seen these brothers, I can't include myself from amongst them, I'm just a normal guy, do you know what I mean? Just loves Islam and Allah and passionate about these things. But I've seen these people develop and grow from like young, like doing little things, into being put in these positions now of leading the next generation in terms of knowledge.
SubhanAllah.
So it's crazy. SubhanAllah. Even how long have I been Muslim now? Over 8 years. But I've seen them. Alhamdulillah. I don't want to mention their names because, you know, naturally people are shy like that.
Yeah.
But it is amazing to see. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will always make sure that there are people in this ummah to benefit us. And you can see the young ones coming through.
Yeah. Islam is going to flourish, and Islam is going to be successful and dominant, whether we do anything or not. It's a matter of whether are we going to be a part of that or not. Are we going to be a part of that reward,
or are we going to add from it in some way or take away from it?
Yeah,
you know, because we are one ummah, we are one body. I remember Muhammad Hopla saying, you know, like sometimes the people say like my sins are on me. It's like, no, your sins affect everyone.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying? Our brothers and sisters in China who are in concentration camps being oppressed, you heard about that, right?
Yeah.
But they're not, like, you can't just say that they're there just because they're there because we are how we are.
Yeah.
Our Palestinian brothers and sisters are in the situation they're in because we are how we are. Our brothers and sisters are in Syria in the position that they're in because of how we are. So this mindset, you know me, I'm all about mindsets. Yeah, it's a big part of like my thing and my counselling and stuff like that as well, as developing and teaching mindsets. Is that mindset is completely incorrect.
Yeah.
It's completely incorrect, because as much as, yeah, you got these countries involved in whatever the case may be in oppressing, like they couldn't do that if we wasn't how we are. Do you understand what I'm saying? It couldn't run. Have you heard of the short story of Harun Rashid?
Harun Rashid. I can't remember. The name sounds familiar though.
Harun Rashid and Mu'tasim.
Oh.
Mu'tasim, like, okay, alright, cool. So because this is on a podcast panel, so I better make sure I got it right.
But I think you know what you're referring to, but carry on.
Yeah. So, one sec. Let me make sure I get it right, because I'm gonna get refuted. There was a Muslim. He was Amir al-Mu'minin. Yeah, Harun Rashid, and there was a Muslim woman who was oppressed. Yeah, and she was hit, and he wrote to the country, the land of the people, non-Muslim people, about this incident. And long story short, they kind of violated what he said and didn't respect it, didn't acknowledge it. And when that Muslim woman was hit, she wailed out and called out for Amir al-Mu'minin, like, where are you? And the word got back to him, because the person who had slapped this Muslim believer, this believing woman, had said, yeah, Mu'tasim is coming on a black and white horse to come and save you. Have you heard it? Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. So the word got back to him, yeah, and he came out with our army, thousands on black and white horses. Because this person said, so basically the disbelievers oppressed this Muslim woman, hit her. She's cried out for Amir al-Mu'minin, where are you? And the disbelievers said, yeah, look, he's coming on a black and white horse to come and save you, to buoy it, yeah. So he comes on black and white horses on an army, and he grabs, and he obviously they did dismantle their enemy, and they bring the believing woman, and he says to her, tell this disbeliever, tell this kafir that Mu'tasim has come on a black and white horse to come and save you.
SubhanAllah.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like, that's the honor that they had.
Yeah.
So considering that's who we come from, yeah, those are, I feel like, my ancestors.
Yeah.
To go from that to being in a place where the believers are oppressed like this, but you have to look at yourself.
Yeah. The Prophet prophesies this as well, subhanAllah. He said the believers will be, it's like people, it will be like a feast. The believers will be on a table. I can't remember the proper text of it, but it's like they're on a feast and people are just taking,
doing
whatever they want to them, and they can't do anything about it.
Yeah, it's peak. But us not having a khalifa, as I said, it's killing us, literally killing us. Us not having a khalifa, but as I said, the victory will be with Islam.
Yeah,
like it's written. So anyone who feels, sometimes people see us being oppressed and they feel demoralized or ashamed because we're being oppressed. It's not a great thing to be oppressed. But the reality of the matter is that we are on the winning team always.
Yeah.
Always. Even during our oppression, we're on the winning team. Those people who are oppressed, inshallah ta'ala, Jannah.
Yeah.
Like the Prophet ﷺ said during the Battle of Mount Uhud, when they had to retreat in the mountain, and they were calling out, you know, I think they thought they'd actually killed the Prophet ﷺ. They wasn't sure. And then the Prophet ﷺ called out, our dead are in paradise and your dead are in the hellfire. You know, so we always win.
Yeah.
We always win. And the way Allah has written the story of this dunya, is victory is with Islam. So any Muslim who observes the believers being oppressed and feels shy or ashamed to be from amongst this team, thinking we're the losing team, no, they're the losing team, because their oppression is going to cause them the most severest of punishments in the akhirah, and those who have been oppressed are going to have the greatest of honors.
Yeah,
that's the way it is. We don't lose. We don't lose, but we have to improve. We have to do better. We have to develop mentally.
Yeah.
You know, more than anything.
Yes, one of the things that it might remind me of as well is that the Prophet, when he was making hijrah, he came with Abu Bakr, and Abu Bakr wanted to purchase two, I think it was camels or horses, but two basically beasts for them to basically migrate to Medina. And the Prophet ﷺ didn't let Abu Bakr pay for both of them. He said, because this is such a great event, it's such a great reward for migrating from one place to another for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that he wanted to pay for one of the rides himself. He didn't want Abu Bakr to pay for both of them. So I was just mentioning that to say that we can either be yearning for the reward, we can either take part in the reward of the victory of Islam, or we can sit on the sidelines and watch all the rewards go by, and then when it's too late, just be like, oh, I wish I had done that. When the next life, when you're standing in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and your deeds are short, you would be thinking, I wish I had done that one good deed. It might have taken some deeds, bro. It legit takes 2 seconds or 5 seconds, 10 seconds, literally, but we miss out on it because we're not yearning for it.
It's a shame. It's a shame. You have to be awake and conscious for it. A lot of successful people, they talk about the power of positive thinking and attracting things and things of that nature. And it's the same with deen. Like if you're not conscious of deen, if you're not conscious of deen, conscious of Allah, conscious of the akhirah, you're not going to be awake to opportunities. You're going to blindly pass them by.
Heedless.
Because it's not on your radar like that. You're thinking about the Balenciagas you want to buy, or the job you're going for, your career or your degree. You're not really aware. So alhamdulillah, you have to be awake.
So yeah, bro, tell me more about why Abdullah ibn Zubayr radiallahu anhu is your favorite companion.
Well, firstly, I feel like this is one of the things that's really missing amongst the masses of the Muslims, is their attachment to the Sahaba and our pious predecessors. When you learn about these individuals, the women, when you learn about the men, there's so much honor in the way that they carried themselves, in who they were as individuals, that it makes these other people that a lot of the masses of the Muslims look up to seem like this, you know? And when you don't have that, it's very easy to be swayed. Alhamdulillah, definitely 100% my learning about the Sahaba and developing a love for them and an admiration for them is something that helps me be proud of being a Muslim. Do you know what I mean? It's something that attaches me to Islam and makes me feel like I don't need to look anywhere else for role models or inspiration. But of course, with different things we get inspiration. Yes, I'm into fashion. I'll look at other individuals for inspiration in that, etc., and admire them. But for real life, important stuff, it's so important to have that attachment. Abdullah ibn Zubayr, radiallahu an, his father was Zubayr, one of the 10 promised Jannah. And Abdullah ibn Zubayr, his grandfather was Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, radiallahu an. And that's a good start. Your grandfather's Abu Bakr and your father is Zubayr, you know, one of the 10 promised Jannah. But he is my favorite companion just because I'll tell you a little bit about him to summarize. He was the first child to be born in Medina, which was special because when the Muslims made hijrah to Medina, there were many miscarriages, and the Jews said that because the Jews were in Medina. It's an amazing thing when you think about it, the Jews being in Medina, because they knew that it was prophesied that there would be a prophet to come there. That's why all the Jews were in Medina in the first place. And when he came and he was an Arab, they rejected him. But anyways, alhamdulillah, another evidence for us about the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that they all went to Medina waiting for him. But they said that they put a curse on the Muslims and that they would not give birth to a child in Medina. And alhamdulillah, Abdullah ibn Zubayr was born, and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam paraded him around Medina. He's the one who everyone was cheering. He's the one who the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam chewed a date and rubbed it on his gums. So he had the blessed saliva of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in his mouth. Something funny about Abdullah ibn Zubayr, another one of the things that makes me love him so much is, you know, Umar. Yeah. A lot of people were scared of Umar, radiallahu anh. I'm sure they loved him also, but the type of person he was, people would be a little bit shook of him if you're a particular way, yeah? And once Abdullah ibn Zubayr was playing with some kids, and Umar was walking down the path, and all the kids scattered, yeah? All the kids ran, but he stayed where he was. So Umar said, why did you not run? Why did you not run with the rest of your friends? And he said to him, Abdullah ibn Zubayr, as a child, he said, because I have not done anything that I should run, and nor is the path too narrow that I need to move.
Subhanallah.
And this is a child, you know.
Yeah.
He said, I haven't done anything that I should run, and nor is the path so narrow that I have to move.
Subhanallah.
And Umar said, who are you? And he said, I'm Abdullah, son of Zubayr. And he once the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he had hijama done, and he asked Abdullah to dispose of it in a place where no one would find it. Yeah, so he took it and he got rid of it. And when he came back, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked him, you know, did you get rid of it? And he said yes. And he said, what did you do? And he said, I drank it. He drank it. So then the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, like, glad tidings to you, because the fire of Jahannam will not touch the one who has the blood of a Nabi. Do you understand? Inside him. So, and as a result, they say that the way his body was, mashallah, he had a nice body. He had a very, like, one of the companions said, I've never seen flesh sit on a person's body like Abdullah bin Zubayr. And one of his defining characteristics was his salah, like his prayer. Because of course he learned from Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu. So it said that he would stay, like, his khushu, and he would stay in the positions for such a long time, like a bird would come and sit on him in ruku. Do you understand? Like his salah was serious, mashallah. And obviously being the son of Zubayr, he was brave as well. So he's very eloquent. He was very good looking. He was very brave. He was just an all around, do you know what I mean? He was a 10-10 guy, you know. And he became a Khalifa, Amir al-Mu'mineen. And there was a fitna that took place. There was another, they say, false Khalifa. I can't remember his name. Subhanallah. I can't remember this other man's name. But a fitna had started. And there was a kind of a divide. And long story short, you know, there was a battle that ensued. Abdullah ibn Zubayr and his companions were in the haram. The enemy were firing, like, you know, like in the movies where we see old time fighting, you know, like the big rocks, like balls on fire, that them like dashing them into the haram. And when the time for salah come, one of the boulders, Abdullah ibn Zubayr was praying, and I told you about his salah already, yeah? He's in war. One of the boulders comes flying past him and kind of sets a bit of his beard on. He doesn't move. It kind of set, like, his kind of bit of his beard and his chest on fire. And I mean, he just completed his prayer. And he's fighting and fighting. His companions were fighting and fighting. And eventually they were getting killed off. And he went to his mother, I think it was Asma, bint Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, and she was blind. And he came and spoke to her and was saying, you know, everybody's leaving me, you know. And as his mother went closer, she felt like armor on him. And she said, what's this? Someone seeking martyrdom, like, doesn't wear this. And he said, my mother, like, I only wore it to comfort you, you know, to comfort you. And she was brave, subhanAllah. She's Asma, you know, so she's serious. And, you know, she didn't fear death for her son. And he fought bravely, and he was the last one standing. And eventually he was martyred. He was killed. And this individual, this false Khalifa, you know, mutilated his body, hung him up at the entrance of the haram. But there was a beautiful fragrance coming from him. So they tied a dead cat around his body. This is what I'm saying about how the dunya is like. People that have terrible endings, like, it's weird. Like, sometimes what's good in the dunya isn't good. Do you understand? And sometimes very often what looks bad and appears as gruesome in the dunya isn't. You know. But anyway, alhamdulillah, they tied a dead cat around the body to try and cause a bad smell. And some of the companions, they were asking to take the body down. The mother had asked to take the body down so they could bury him. Eventually, alhamdulillah, they did. And his mother, like, made a beautiful statement. Yeah, she said, "Isn't it time for this soldier of Allah to come down off his horse?" you know, and alhamdulillah
Subhanallah.
he was buried. But yeah, I don't know why. I just love Abdullah ibn Zubayr.
MashaAllah.
Yeah, his dad was even, you know, greater.
Yeah.
But I was always one of those kids who, like my brother would always get the Batman toy, would like the
Yeah.
Batman toy, and I'd always like Robin. Do you know what I mean? Like I'd
Yeah.
always like the one that's, I don't know.
Just below the best.
Yeah, like even with Dragon Ball Z, my brother would use Goku and I'd use Vegeta. Do you know what I'm saying? Like I don't know why. I like I don't
The
know why.
underdog.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know
subhanallah.
why. But yeah, alhamdulillah.
Well, what you said about Asma bin Abi Bakr radiallahu anha, that she was saying that someone seeking martyrdom and he's wearing armor, like she's basically pushing for him. And it shows, bro, that when you love someone, it doesn't necessarily mean that you elongate their lives.
Yes,
Because
100%.
what is to come for them in the next life is way better for them in this life. So you're constantly looking out for the akhirah. For example, the Prophet ﷺ said to Ali that you are to me like Harun was to Musa, and that me and you will be companions in this life and in the next life. And he said that anyone who loves Ali is a mu'min, and anyone that hates Ali or dislikes Ali is a munafiq. And he made so many great statements about him, and he loved him, and he even raised him up in his house. But when it came to war, and they were picking people to fight, because at the beginning of every war or every battle, they would have people from the Muslims and they would have people from the mushrikeen, like 3-3 for example, and they would fight each other. And the Prophet ﷺ picked Ali, he picked Hamza, and he picked Abu Ubaidah in one of the wars. I think it was Tabuk. And Ali and Hamza, they're both, subhanallah, Hamza is his beloved uncle, and Ali is like his cousin and his son-in-law. Yet he's still saying to him, go fight. And this is a one-on-one battle. Now he can pass away. When you're going to fight in a battle, and especially in these kind of duels, it's a 50-50 chance you might pass away. But it's not about elongating the lives of those that you love. It's about looking at what's best for them in this life and then the next life.
No.
And the next life is always gonna top.
Yeah,
This
no
life.
doubt, no doubt. Alhamdulillah, you need to have a real attachment. The akhirah really needs to be
Yeah.
real to you, to be that type of individual.
Yeah.
You know, it really has to be.
Oh, this is such a huge problem because so often, even within marriages, a wife might go tell her friend something, or her family members, or a husband might go tell one of his friends or something, that this is what's happening in my marriage, and so on and so on. And then people start to backbite and people start to slander and say stuff about the other spouse. Because say a sister goes and tells her friend's going to get emotional. Her friend's going to see things only from this perspective of her friend. Even if her friend is very righteous and she's honest and she has taqwa and all of that stuff, she's still human and she still has nafs, she still has desires and shahwa. So even though she might be truthful, her desires and stuff might overcome her at that time. So the stuff that she's saying is not necessarily all true. There's parts and elements of her desires and her own emotions and stuff that's affecting and impacting what she's saying. So then now when her friends say stuff about you or about her husband or spouse or whatever, now they're slandering and saying stuff, subhanAllah, they're going to be accountable for in the next life, and they don't even realize it.
Yeah.
They might break a marriage based on the few things that they might have heard from her friends, and they don't know the full story, because there's always two sides of a story.
100%.
But alhamdulillah, you said you've got married recently.
Yeah,
And alhamdulillah, I'm glad to hear you. It's an Afghan, mashallah.
Alhamdulillah, akhi, the Afghan. I'm in the Afghan, like,
You're part of the family now.
Part of the family, bro.
Alhamdulillah.
Wallahi, akhi, one honor. From I've been Muslim, I've loved Afghans. Because my only encounter with them has been brothers, obviously.
Yeah.
So my relationship with Afghans has always been good. They've always been strong brothers. They've
Yeah.
always been well-mannered brothers. They're just men. Do you understand? And I've always loved them and their ways and their food. And qadarullah, alhamdulillah, you know, I ended up not meeting, because she lives the other side of the world, but coming across this sister, and there's a good lesson for sisters to learn about how to get a man and what men are really impressed by, and marriage and things of this nature. it's interesting because my wife, who's Afghan but an Australian citizen, the way she won my heart was through real, like, it was modesty and shyness. And it's funny because she had only started wearing the hijab because she's like a revert. Even though she's Afghan, she's like a revert, you know. She really came back to Allah, and she was only 2 months into wearing the hijab. And in Melbourne, there aren't many hijabis. There aren't many Muslims really in Melbourne. I went there, loads of Chinese, loads of Japanese and Korean. Like, literally, it's crazy. Their influence on the city is crazy. All the restaurants are all Chinese, Korean, Japanese. So many of them. But yeah, anyway, so she was in a city where there aren't many hijabis. Alhamdulillah, she was wearing the hijab. So she started implementing shyness and putting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first before everything. And then she ended up, you know, meeting me. And how can I say this? We had our first discussion, and she basically showed me that she wasn't basic, but in the sense that a lot of things that a lot of girls would be impressed by, she wasn't having it. Do you understand what I'm saying? So, not that I was mad inappropriate or anything, but she just shut down something that another person would have entertained or been impressed by. Do you know what I mean? And it's not like men test women consciously, but sometimes men do test subconsciously. Do you understand what I'm saying? You're feeling a person out, you're checking for them. And so what a lot of women find fitna and be impressed by, she just called me up. It was like, boom, boom, stuck it on me. I was like, my mouth was open, bro. But as my mouth was open and I was getting told off, my heart opened up. My heart opened up. And from that moment, I knew, okay, cool, I'm not just dealing with the same type of, do you know what I mean, like normal girl. And sisters need to realise that, is that if they really want a husband, they really want a man, don't be basic. Don't give a man what he thinks he wants. Have modesty, have shyness, and Allah will honour you and give you. And if there's any good in the man, he's not going to be upset with you for checking him. He's going to love you for checking him. And that's what happened. I got checked and I was impressed so much that obviously it got to the point where I went to Australia. I'm a person that doesn't fly a lot.
That's very romantic, akhi.
Yeah, alhamdulillah, bro. I travelled to the other side of the world, bro. I've stopped off in Hong Kong. You know what I mean? Like, but I had yaqeen. I had certainty. And I'm not going to lie, obviously you do have that doubts like, right, this is costing mad though, and if I see her face to face and it's a catfish thing, I'm not rating her, I'm going to be pissed. But alhamdulillah, nah. Alhamdulillah. And obviously I was going over there with knowing that the family wasn't down, naturally. But I had compassion and understanding, because who's going to want their daughter to go and move to the other side of the world? Do you know what I mean? That's a big thing, especially for Afghans. So I was so understanding towards that fact that it helped me, you know? So I was going over there by myself, about to deal with Afghan family. But I know I had the sister on my side fully. Like, she was not one of those sisters who are like, you know, like, if the family says something, she just plays dead and just lets them dictate their life. She stood up for what she wanted. And that gave me the confidence to go. And I went... she came with her mum, and from the moment straight off I loved her mum for her mother. I really did. And I could tell that she liked me. Even though she was telling me, look, like, no, she told me no. She told me no before I came. She called me at 7 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday. The Australian time, innit? I was the first time she called. I was like, ugh, in the days talking to her, she told me, you know, like, you know, basically marry someone from, you know, your country. I said to her straight, like, I sent her in a text. I said, Auntie, you know, I remember saying, but my loyalty is to your daughter. Straight up, like, my loyalty is to her. So she's the one fighting for me, going through mad stuff at home. I'm not just gonna, you just say this and then I turn around and turn my back on her and leave her looking like an idiot. I'm one of those people. If you fight for me, I fight for you. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's as simple as that. I'll never turn my back on you. So her knowing that she was standing up for herself, that's part of compatibility as well. Because I'm the same way. Like, my family couldn't tell me what I'm going to do and what I'm not going to do in that department. And she was the same. So over time, gradually, sometimes the mum would suggest that we're going to get married, then she'll go on a turn the next day. Had anxiety for a lot of the trip. She would come with us out to go shopping for like thobe and like fabrics and stuff like that. Then the next day she'll change her mind and say you're not getting married. So the brother, her older brother, he wasn't getting involved. He was staying away. I said to her, look, I bet you he's not going to get involved until right at the end when I have to go back. And I got a lot of assistance from the imam, one of the imams over there, mashallah, very good brother. He was helping us. And long story short, the day before I was due to fly back, alhamdulillah, the whole family had agreed and we got married. And it was exactly the way we wanted to be, with the mum's support, with the brother, because I knew they was going to need that. You know, a woman needs to have that family support if you're going to the other side of the world. Do you understand? And alhamdulillah, we ended up, you know, making it happen. We avoided zina. That's something I need to advise the believers. Avoid zina. Do you understand? I'm not saying we was perfect. I'm not saying that mistakes won't get made, because mistakes will get made. There's one thing, if there's one thing that can get a practicing person, a let's say pious person, a praying person, someone who really loves Allah and fears Allah, there's not one thing that's going to get them into major sins, then ironically enough, looking to fulfill half of their deen. Get married. Because you're coming into contact with the opposite gender. And also shaitan would love to flop that as much as possible. You know, he loves to destroy a marriage. So alhamdulillah, we avoided zina. Inshallah. I think had we not done that, then we wouldn't have got married. You know, so the believers, the women, they need to remember, don't give a man what he thinks he wants. Always put your honor first. Always have that shyness, you know, and you'll earn his respect. You're not going to earn his respect by giving it up. You're just not. And even if you end up getting married, Allah will punish you via you not having a good love life with your spouse. Because every person that I know and the people of knowledge that I'm around know, and they give examples about married couples who committed zina before getting married, they're not very satisfied in the physical department. And everyone who preserved their honor and their chastity, they're very happy in that department. Everything's from Allah, isn't it?
It's true, it's from Allah.
You know, so avoid that. And your chances of marriage will significantly increase. And stand up for yourself. I know everyone's different, this is part of compatibility. Some people, they listen to their family. That's good. They should marry someone who's likewise. Some people, they're, you know, you have to all about compatibility.
That's true.
I don't think every person should basically not listen to their family. I'm not saying that at all in the slightest. But sometimes Sheikh Abu Bakr recently also said as well, you know, that nothing can ruin a person. The greatest loss and something that will ruin a person's life is when they allow their unwise loved ones to write their life story for them. You know, unwise loved ones. And a lot of people, they let that happen to them, you know. Just because their mum or just because their dad, they listen to them. And mum and dad don't always get it right. They didn't get it right in this instance. And now they love their son-in-law. Her mum loves me.
Alhamdulillah.
Proper, like loves me. It's not like they just submitted. They love me. Do you know what I mean? And I love them and I'm good with them. I can't wait for her mum to come.
May Allah put barakah in your marriage and grant you lots and lots of righteous offsprings.
I don't know, man. Not too much. I know a lot of people love that, but not too much. I know, bro. I know, but
we need more little Jibrils around, inshallah.
Subhanallah, man. Alhamdulillah. Allah loves to give me girls. Alhamdulillah. Wallahi, daughters are amazing.
It must mean, bro, maybe you love the Prophet ﷺ a lot.
I do love the Prophet ﷺ.
The Prophet ﷺ said that the one who raises daughters,
three daughters also.
3 daughters, SubhanAllah, you're gonna have 3 daughters, inshallah.
Inshallah.
So inshallah, you have the opportunity to be like this with the Prophet ﷺ.
Inshallah. It takes sacrifice and dedication.
But barakallah feekum for coming. Inshallah, we're gonna have you for many more podcasts.
Inshallah ta'ala.
There's a lot more that we need to speak about, inshallah.
Akhi, we got untolds we could talk about, you and I.
Definitely.
Alhamdulillah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you and may Allah bless you in your affairs. Alhamdulillah. And do this again soon, inshallah.
Inshallah. Jazakallah khairah.
Wa jazak.
Barakallah feekum for all those listening. Inshallah, we'll be back with more episodes very soon, inshallah.